Hello everyone, Kenty Tiger here with Bengali Engineering and Play. We are back in Space Engineers, and we are actually continuing on what we thought in the last episode was finished Space Station 2, which is really to say the KTC, that's Kenty Tiger Clan, Transit Station version 2. Version 1 was really not version 1 at all, it was the lag monster. So we kind of eliminated the lag monster by way of delete. And we started over to create a much smaller space station, so not nearly as high, not nearly as large, and in fact not nearly as laggy. So one of the bunch of projects that I have actually done off screen here, there were two of them. I wanted to, three of them. One was how to prevent hacking of the station here. One of the methodologies of preventing hacking is by adding in firewall computers. So firewall computers hopefully will do the job. We'll see. May or may not help us in the long run, but I hope so. So firewall computers were conveniently hidden around the shield grids. So the shielding systems. So shielding systems were also installed because I don't have a whole lot of room inside. I went ahead and put them outside. Now, does that mean they're unprotected? Well, the entire station is unprotected if you really look at it from the perspective of, can it take a hit? So just because something is inside does not necessarily mean it's heavily armored or anything else. So yes, I put them outside. So we have shielding systems. We have 4 shield grids here, or shielding systems rather, large shield systems here. We have 4 of them. We have the EZOS upgrade cubes. And down here we have 4 more, which means 8. And then finally we have 4 more down here. Now why did I put them all down at the bottom rather than a little more centrally located? Probably could have. My original concept was I would go ahead and make all of the bottoms of the landing pads into the shield grids, and then I was thinking, okay, I've got 12 shield grids. If we really calculate this out, this is probably going to be out into the, and it's an arbitrary number, but I did 6 shield grids on the base, the planetary base, and it worked out to like 97 million something. I don't know what the somethings are, so I don't know what that number is relative to anything else, damage, hit points, whatever we want to call it. I have no idea how that's calculated, how that number is derived. So if we had 97 million of whatever our arbitrary magic number actually means, with 6, so 3 on each side of the main hangar bay down yonder, and I have 12 here, so 3 groups of 4 equals 12. That means I have twice the amount that we have here, so 97 times 2 would be 190 what? I'll let all you math challenged people. So obviously 6 less than 200,000. 200 million, which would effectively be 194 million, whatever those magic numbers happen to be. So 194 million hit points, let's say, on this particular base. So it was like, okay, why do I need more shielding again? So I just stopped. So I put him in up here just because this is, like the other direction of the Cardinals. The other thing I did while I was rebuilding the bottoms of all these, so we added in, and we'll go ahead and, so let me get Tiger Orange reselected here. We'll spin this around the correct direction, and we'll go ahead and remove this. So this is what our firewall computers look like. We went ahead and put them on the outside underneath. So each one of these landing pads has 8. So there are 2 here, there are 2 at this end, then 2 and 2. So 8 per landing pad, and we have them on 3 landing pads. So they basically mimic the same orientation with the shielding. So basically wherever we see the shields, it's just a carbon copy of everything. Alright. So addition number 1 was the firewall computers. Addition number 2 was the shielding grid, of course, which is all going to work cumulatively together because these are all attached to the same grid. And finally was the connections on the outside here. Now, one of the things that we have not done, which is where I say, oops, I forgot, and I really should not have copied and pasted this into my blueprints yet because it's not done. So in this case, and let me just demonstrate that, because after all, a picture is worth 1,000 words, especially when somebody screws up. So, K, which brings this up, and this all looks fine and dandy and normal and well organized and all that until you get to here. Now we have 9 connectors that have no names but numbers. Nobody likes to be a number. So, oops. So, I need to fix this because after all, we need to have some logical naming conventions here, because otherwise, what do you know what you're attached to? If you happen to be the space engineer who is assigned to maintain and run this station, and somebody calls you and says, I am at the fuel ice connector on Spire Pad A, and you go into your list and all you see is connector 25. Well, is that 25 or is that connector 23? Or oh, wait a minute, is that 22? I actually don't know. So probably naming your connectors is a great idea. So where are we? So let's go ahead. We conveniently have these signs. So this is Spire Pad B. Spire Pad B. Remember, Spire Pad B. So why are we starting here? Because. No reason. Okay, so K, we know this is connector 27. This happens to be the fuel ice connector. So this is Spire, let me go ahead and put a tack in here, Spire Pad B, and this is the fuel ice connector. Simple, right? So because we're going to be naming all of these in similar fashion, here we are. So this one is also Spire Pad B.
No energy.
Let me push the right button. How about? So Spire Pad B, this happens to be the main supply. So supply. And finally, what is the red? The red is danger, danger, danger. Okay. This is the pull-in connector. All right. So we have named 3 of our connectors out of the 9, which means we're headed over here next. Logically enough, this is Spire A. Imagine that. So we can use the same convention here, except we'll change this to A space. Control C, go to the end. This is the pull-in connector. This is, of course, the supply connector. And finally, the fuel ice connector for this particular one. Oops. Fuel ice. Okay, if we scroll down on our list, we see that 6 of our 9 are now renamed. They will alphabetize themselves once we're done. So 28, 29, and 30 are the only ones remaining. And those conveniently are located right here. So these are our last ones. Flew right by it. So obviously our pull-in connector here, so a K. This happens to be, let me go ahead and look and see what we are calling this. This is landing pad junction B. So, in sticking with our naming conventions, we are going to do junction pad B space, and then we'll backspace to right there, do a Control C. This one, of course, is our pull-in connector, as it was when we got here. This, of course, is the supply connector. And then we could roll ourselves over there, or we know this is actually the last one anyway, which is our fuel ice. So with all of these having been named, and of course these will alphabetize themselves as you go, they all belong to me, which is important. We will roll up here to these things called connectors. Hangar main, hangar fighters, and we're going to go ahead and dump those into just connectors because all the others are also in that group. So that was a Control left click on our connectors, and yes, you see button panels highlighted. That's just Space Engineers, and we do a save. In this case, we're going to leave them on the toolbar. So let me go ahead and make sure. In this case, why this is there we go. Why do we want those on the toolbar? If somebody were to paste this into the world, into their world, and which is to say this equals space station, and they want to put down control consoles somewhere, then having the connectors in the toolbar means you can actually add those onto your toolbar, and you could select, okay, let me get to this page, bring up this connector, and I want to slot this right here. So it adds the flexibility for the players to put that where they want it. We do want to remove it from the terminal, which is this window here, the control panel, because there's no reason for them to be here. You can't really, I mean, you can do everything you need to do with this control panel, but it clutters everything up, and you know, why bother? All we have left is the transporter pad, which in this case is actually functionally useless, so we could delete it if we wanted to, because it's not going to function as we wanted it to. There's a distance limitation here. I don't think I have my browser open, otherwise I would actually bring that in and we could read it together. Hey, we're 13 minutes in. We are kind of done with what we're doing, so let's go ahead.
No energy.
And sure enough, I do not have a browser open. So let's go ahead and open our browser. I can use the button here. I happen to be using Chrome. There are upsides and downsides to using Chrome. Inventory manager. So I have certain pages open. Let me go ahead and. All right. So the teleporter is what we're looking at here. So let me go ahead and go over to number 1. I don't know when I actually turned on the teleporter. I think it was a while back. So the goal here is to actually find the teleport. Transporter. Sorry, it's called transporter, not teleporter. We'll click over to that. We'll bring our browser onto the screen so we can all look at it together, and let me go ahead and zoom in here so we can see this together. One more. because I realize this is UHD, so this is a little hard. So 120 megawatts, 120 kilowatts per person. What do the lights mean? No issues. Disclaimer. By building, you agree to not sue us for the following actions. Merging two persons into one. Okay. If you are able to create models and want to make your own teleporter model, ask me. The code is generic. We only have to change a few lines. Okay, so I was hoping. So my hope was it would actually tell us how far you could work. All a jammer will prevent all enemy transporters to work correctly, but it doesn't have an effect on allied transporters. So you can transport. So you can transport enemies even when your jammer. I'm presuming that means two enemies, as long as your enemies don't have a jammer. What does the light mean? Green. Transporter's ready. Orange. There is an error. Target is not in range, or there is no player to transport, or target is blocked. Red. Deactivated. Not enough power. Players who are in the cockpit cannot be generated. So what am I looking for is a distance. Any reference to distance. Disclaimer. This is also valid if you accidentally travel back in time and stop us from writing this disclaimer. Yeah. It's good to have humor. For all the modders out there, if you like this, please rate it. Dev branch. My guess is by reference to dev branch. This is the alternate version, but they haven't really done the development branch and stable branch for quite a while, so missing UI elements. You are using the fixed version. Currently this version doesn't function. Fixes from here. Maybe nuke guard. Let's go ahead and go here. I didn't realize that we had issues. Molecular Lito technology. Just a bug fix. Original mod will be back online soon. Well, distance is editable in the storage. So I may actually have to use this version instead of the other version, and so what I'm going to do is favorite, subscribe, and then we will, I think I already have this favorited. Nope, I don't. And then unsubscribe. So the challenges here, and I don't know if this will work. So it does talk about the distances being editable. In fact, let's go back to this. It was on the other thing in the comments. App data space engineers storage. Distance is editable in the storage folder in XML files. Storage. Well, we have transporter and we have single large, so what is engineer storage, but it doesn't say which particular file. Maximum range, presumably in kilometers or in meters. Maybe it's in meters. That would make sense. So one of the theories back from the Star Trek universe was kilometer distance. So 12,000 kilometers was generally considered to be the distance of the transporter systems, between 10 and 12,000 kilometers. So if this maximum range is true in meters, this is 12 million meters, which means 12,000 kilometers, which should be just fine for a 950 kilometers, because I'm really not that far away. In astronomic terms, I'm right next door. So I guess I want to presume that maximum range is fine as it is. So if this is meters, then 12,000 is greater than 950, so we should be all right. If it's in kilometers, then we're really within the range. So, okay. I think we're good. So, let me get this off my screen here again. So, what do we need to do here? So, we have a teleporter. We're going to leave that there for the moment.
No energy.
But here's what we're going to do. Because of everything, so the first thing we're going to do is do a quick save. We're going to do a Control C, which will copy this entire station. And if I remember correctly, I deleted it already, which isn't to say I deleted it, but I removed it from my blueprints because I cut it and pasted it into my blueprints folder. So this is a Control B, which will re-add the transit station back into the world. We're going to go ahead and cancel. And here's where it might get interesting. So, save changes. We did a quick save, so it doesn't really matter. And then the waiting begins. How long does it take to exit the game? It does take a little while. Alright, let me go ahead and clear that nice serval staring at you. This was a serval named Savuti. And we'll go back into Space Engineers. We need to make a fundamental modification. So we're going to go into load game. Kenti Survival Series 2 is where we're at. We're going to edit the settings here. We're going to go into mods. So we need to scroll down the list here and do transporter. And in this case, we're going to remove the transporter. Let's remember that that is right under the nanobot building repair system. We will scroll down here. It should probably be at the very bottom, and we have transporter fixed. So we'll go ahead and add that in, and then we'll grab this guy, and we're going to go upwards. Oops, too far. It was right there. All right. So, okay. Advanced just to look and see what we have. It should be all good. Okay. Okay. Now, highlighted, we'll go ahead and click load and see what happens. And this will take a few minutes. I'm going to utilize a few minutes.
No energy.
Okay, looks like we came up reasonably fast. Let us go over here. So if all is well, then we do indeed have a teleporter here. Oh my goodness, lag. Lag and frozen, which actually happens on most every load in the game, unfortunately. As it figures out what it needs to do. One more freeze, and then we should have control again. Okay, so it says green, and I don't know if that is because... And as you guys saw in your last one, we had strange asteroid mine? GPS. Oh, because that's a... Okay, yeah. So I don't want to hide far targets. I do want to hide players. Let's go ahead and hide planets, hide GPS, and transporter to transporter. So, transporter. If that transporter is actually there, I'm hoping that's all good. In this case, I'm gonna try. So if this works, then we have actually created a methodology to go from our station all the way out here. So teleport. Oh. I suppose I should probably be in on the pad, maybe. Turn this off. Let's try again. T. We are transport to or from the target. We're transporting hopefully to. It does not know how far away that is, which is to be expected. And let's go ahead and try. And we turned green, which may actually be when I triggered it before. What I'm not sure here is, let me go V, and there we go. My leopard suit. So for whatever reason, my mag boots are not working. So apparently mag boots don't work when you're out of power, which I guess makes a certain amount of sense. So charging up to 100% just because. Let's go ahead and change our view again, turn off, and nope, mag boots for whatever reason are not working. So I don't know if that actually makes a difference or not. So we're going to come in here and hopefully we are within the grasp. Re-verify here, we have the one transporter over here. We are selected at 2. We'll try to teleport. And it just goes completely blank. Okay, so I don't know if this is one of these things where you have to have gravity. I'm thinking I'm on the pad here. Well, there is the possibility I'm just too stupid to make this work. I don't know if these are lights or we just go blank. So blank So the only thing I can reasonably conclude, I guess, is that the transporter systems A is too far away, or B, um, they don't work. But to test that theory, let's go ahead and do some testing. So the farthest point away from anything here, let's do a G. The transport system here is, there's a single pad somewhere. Industries is there we go. Single pad. Let's go ahead and get rid of some things off of our toolbar. I want to add a single pad. We'll add it there. We will take possession of it. Okay. Transporter single pad is going to be me. Share with faction, which is all fine. And so hide far targets. We're going to turn off GPS, off players, and off planets. Okay, so this one is way the hell out there. This one should be very, very close in, which is the one that's selected. We are teleporting to that one, and let's do the teleport. It's shifted to orange, which might actually be a little more consistent. So let me actually get in the teleporter, which is probably a really good idea. And we'll try again. Teleport. And I actually see the graphics going here. A little hard to see. And here we are. Alright, so the good news here is that it is working from the perspective of, we just demonstrated the fact that it works. So the system is working. So let's do a Control F5, which will quick save. We're going to go ahead and Alt F10. Biggest grids. So origin base, which is interesting. So clearly we have some things that are a little bit messed up. So our ground over here has either violently exploded or something's wrong. Either way, we're going to do a control space, which did nothing. Frozen. Well, the world reappeared, which is, I guess, a good thing. So, controls, F6, let's turn myself So, we have a teleport pad over here. Is there some kind of a problem? Origin base. Let's go ahead and do all me. What is this? Origin base. So let's actually step into the proverbial pad here. Oh, damn it. Alright, well. T to get into the control. We are going to turn this off. Hide far targets we're going to keep on. Hide players and hide planets. So we just have this one that is an unknown distance away. And we'll try the exact same thing here. Teleport. See if that works. These turn to orange. At least they turn orange. The other one's just blanked out completely. Of course, it doesn't say anything about what's going on. So apparently distance really is a thing. How is it a thing? I really have no idea. So I'm going to go ahead and look into open with. We're going to open with, in this case, WordPad. Oh, maximum range 60. Okay, so if I'm going to presume that this is in meters, and I don't know if this is actually the truth or not, but we're going to presume that it is. I made the presumption planet range 1000 some type transporter. So maximum range, if this is 60 kilometers, then I would like so this is 1,000,000 kilometers, which would reasonably be 1,000 kilometers, right? So let's go ahead and we'll save. And then we'll close that. The problem here is my guess I'm going to have to go out and reload. But let's just for shits and giggles see. So teleporter, it's still showing up as question mark. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll do a shift F5, which is kind of redundant because it's going to ask us to save. Oh, that's taking a little while. Domain, yes, save. We will attempt to do a reload and see if that actually changes anything. I'm going to go ahead and exit all the way out because I think that will force. Did I change? Always use WordPad. Okay. Which was, again, I'm presuming 1,000,000 meters. So that was transporter, single large, and I see another maximum range. So, 1. And we'll put 1,000,000 in here. So I don't know what either of those means. And then we have the SBM file, which alright, don't know. So, having edited those two files, now the downside of editing both the files is I don't know which one actually matters. So there's the downside of that. Continue game. And while this is loading, I'm going to take yet another break and see if I can find a bite to eat, I think. Okay, so back in the world here. T. We have all of these same hide for targets. So let's look at this one, 900. So no more question marks, which is possibly a good thing. And teleport. We are green. I see the little sparklies. And I'm eating honey roasted peanuts here. Might not be a good sign. Have no control of the mouse. I appear to be upside down. Oh. Alright, so the good news is whichever change it was that I made, depending on which file it was, it worked. So this is good news. So we had to make two changes. Sorry, munching in the microphone. So let's pull in the... Whoa. Pull in the off-screen stuff, and wow, this is going to be really hard to see. So if we see here, Macumba, that would be my username on this particular thing. App data, roaming, space engineers, storage. Okay, so yours is going to look something different, except it's probably not going to say Macumba. So whatever your username is, app data, roaming Space Engineers storage. In this storage folder, there's an XML file, and there's actually two, and I'm not sure which one is valid in this case, whether it be the transporter or the transporter for single large. I have no idea which one is actually in use here. Obviously, we're having a lot of issues. You can see the background flashing there. So I edited both of these, and it's working, but clearly something is not quite right. All right, so back to the world. So I like this colored HUD. What I don't like about it is the things vanishing off the screen. So off, on, and things just magically vanish. Namely, my toolbar vanishes off the screen. Maybe that's intentional. Alright, so now that we have the ability to transport this distance, and I suppose it's not really a valid test unless we can teleport both directions. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll zoom in here, and T. The transporter 979 kilometers away. See the sparklers on the screen, which is a good sign. I'm presuming this is the game calculating where you are. I'm upside down, but I am clearly in the base. So it's been a while since we've seen the base. So we have our reactors, we have our batteries. I think most of this was kind of as vanilla as it could possibly be, except for things like the shields and all that sort of thing. Oh, more freezing. Performance. How much do you want to bet the teleport system is causing issues? Physics. Too many individual objects interacting with one another, which is not so strange. But this was 6 minutes ago. Blocks update. Individual blocks. Too many blocks in the world is what it is claiming. Scripts. Too many or too complicated scripts. Well, interesting. So we're back to our world here. We can actually see what the sorting mechanism looks like here. I think, just for fun, let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. So I'm going to cheat just a tiny little bit here, and what I mean by that is I need to bring up a notepad. Copy. what am I doing off screen? Well, I just pasted this information. Now, here's the interesting thing about ISI, is that until it knows about it, it's not going to be able to create anything. So this is the auto crafting board, right? So if I change numbers here, then ISI will actually function to maintain this. Just simple. So the brilliance of this particular script is that you go in and easily edit, whether you go in by a K and edit, or you left click on it and edit. It doesn't matter. If you change things here in this list, then ISI will respond by creating what you asked for, which is kind of neat. So in the case of the station, which is to say the space station, I have not yet developed this list. So because this particular list is very mature, then I want to create that same list up there, and I'm going to. So let's teleport back over. We are seeing major lag because of thrusters being thrusters. So teleport. The orientation shift here may just be because the station and the station are oriented differently. It's entirely possible. Alright, so easy way in. Well, I don't know if there's an easy way in, but we're going to go in this way. Freeze. Will it recover or not? Yes. No. Why did I go all the way in here? Because this. And what I'm going to do here is copy in the copy in ISI's thing. Control V. Okay. So it may take a little while for things to update how they want. The other challenge here is we don't have materials here. So we are very limited in materials. So Issy clearly having some issues here. Um, one of the other things where Issy was having some problems. So let me go ahead and turn this off, and in this case, program inventory manager. So it is running here. This would not function before, but now that I've got the lag somewhat under control, let's see what happens, because this may or may not work. Normally when you have extreme lag is where it really starts to have problems here. And in this case it looks like it's continuing to function. So one of the things that the script will do is delete stuff that you don't want. The advantage to deleting is you will end up with materials that you may not have otherwise, which could be a good thing. So one of the other things I kind of want to do is alphabetize, and I know there was a way to do this. Programmer, inventory edit. Fill bottles true. Sort alphabetically. Tour, yeah, how about that? And once again, check code, yes, remember and exit. Let's try, okay. Steel tube, steel plate. So as we're deleting and crafting, you're going to see these values over here change. So you see we actually have a lot of different items. Now we don't have any platinum, so we're going to definitely have trouble there. We don't have silver, we don't have magnesium, and in fact we don't have any gold. So there's quite a few things here that is going to be interesting. Gravel, don't have any gravel as well. So there's a lot of things that we don't have, which is going to cause us all kinds of problems. But, so we won't possibly be able to craft different things. But as these align more and more, computer, 12,000, construction components, 50,000, detectors, 500, display, we're going to need gold and silicon, so that's not going to work. Girder, 3,500, gravity generator. Thruster, grab jet. ultimately we need materials, so we can either cheat and do that, or go out and harvest. The problem with going out and harvesting is it's going to take time, and I'm not sure there is much entertainment value in watching somebody mine. I mean, there is, but mining the sheer amount that I would need to mine to actually make a difference here. So we may do basically what we did on the station below, which was to park our miner and offload everything that's already on the miner. So I think we'll do that. I have just looked at my timer and noticed that, hey, surprise, surprise, I'm over time. So this is probably a good place to break. So this is Kenty Tiger signing off. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.